Emotions aren't comfortable. They're not meant to be comfortable. Emotion, energy and motion is meant to radically shift your physiology and ready your body for action. That's why when we go into a fight or flight, all the blood that's inside of our cavity here goes out to the skeletal muscles, to our arms, to our legs, where we're ready to fight or we're ready to flight. You should be a monster. You should be a monster and then learn how to control it. This is a quote from Jordan Peterson, and we are going to break down what this means and the crisis that's facing masculinity. Jordan Peterson, very well known analyst, psychologist, teacher, speaker, author, talks a lot around Jungian archetypes, talks a lot about the shadow, talks a lot about men, marriage, been on every podcast imaginable. And he talks about this crisis in masculinity that men should be a monster and then learn how to control it, learn how to harness the power, the aggression, because our society fails when there's weak men. And we have a culture right now where we're promoting men being weak, docile. And this has perpetuated this essence of tyrannical governments, tyrannical energy taking over, because it is strong men that rise up. It is strong men that take action. It is strong men that keep things safe. So you should absolutely be a monster and then learn how to control it. This is something fundamental that we teach in Ignite the King. I'm going to break this down in this episode of the podcast, talk about the lover archetype specifically and the warrior archetype and how it relates to what Jordan Peterson is talking about, because we must be connected to our heart. That is our lover energy. That's our morality. The warrior energy is being able to take action. Our warrior energy is our ability as men to defend, to protect, to stand up against what is right. And there's been this energy in the culture, specifically in the United States, to make men weak, to make men docile so that those in power can run amok. You take the men out, the men that would normally stand up to oppression, to aggression, and do something about it. And now in our culture, we are neutered. We are docile. We are stuck in social media. We're stuck on our phones. We're stuck in video games. We are stuck in pleasure. And when men are distracted with pleasure, they don't have meaning. They don't have purpose. They don't have drive. Literally, the testosterone levels of 20-year-old men are that of 60-year-old men 20 years ago. And it's only getting worse. Talk about the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the water that we drink, the medications that people are on, all the different drugs. It's just insane what is creating this decline in masculinity. I remember growing up and kids in middle school had full mustaches and beards and looked like 25-year-old men. And now I look at men that are in their 20s and they look like they're in kindergarten sometimes. And there's a literal breaking down of the masculine energy. So underneath what Jordan Peterson is talking about is harnessing this innate masculinity within men that is absolutely needed as a core pillar and fundamental of how a society, how a culture lives and breathes and thrives and survives. And the lack of this is allowing things to go on that would have never gone on years ago. And I'm not going to get on a soapbox here about everything going on in the world. I'm here to talk to you as a man. I'm here to talk to the men in the world that are reclaiming their masculinity, are breaking out of that know better, that are regaining this sense of courage and wisdom and source and strength, and starting to use that to better the world. I want you to be the man that walks down the street and other people feel safe because they see you walking down the street. I've seen so many videos online over the years of, you see all these cell phone videos of people getting beat up, robbed, hurt, murdered, and there's someone standing there recording it on their cell phone. They're not actually jumping in and doing anything to help anybody. You need to be the man that helps others out. You need to be the man that's online at the grocery store and saying to yourself, it's a good thing I'm the one here, because if something was to go down, if something was to happen, I'd be the one to step in. And forget about people in the culture. What about your own family? if they're being hurt. Now, we all say from a safe place, like, yeah, of course I would jump in. Of course I would do something about it. That's who I am. But then when you get in that situation, when your nervous system goes into that fight or flight, do you fight? Do you freeze? Or do you engage? So you should absolutely be a monster and then learn how to control it. We must engage with the warrior energy. We must forge that. We must grow that. We must develop that, whether that's learning how to do martial arts, combatives, working out, firearms, whatever it is that you do as a man to be the protector. The world is a crazy place and is only getting crazier, and the more of us that are here. So developing this within you is absolutely important. And as I said before, the lover energy of the heart, of morality, needs to be combined with this energy, because a warrior not connected to his heart is a mercenary and will destroy things. And in your own life, that can show up as being a bully, that can show up as walking over people, that could show up as just taking what you want without feeling like there's any consequence, where it's unfeeling. So it's absolutely imperative to develop a full self. And we talk about and ignite all the different archetypes. And I'm not going to get into all of that on this particular episode, but I specifically want to talk about the lover energy. And I specifically want to talk about the warrior energy and developing that and what that means. In our group right now in Ignite the King, we're focused in the lover season. This is about a man developing his feeling, about developing his emotional connection, and also about developing his life force, his bioenergy. Because a lot of men out there are sick, are lazy, have no energy. There's just no energy. They're tired all the time, burnt out from the grind of life. And it's absolutely imperative to cultivate and grow this life force energy. And our life force, that's our biology. That's how we respond to the environment. It's also our ability to pick up on subtle cues. Because when there's danger in the environment, would you rather smell a lion by its breath or by its roar? If you smell a lion by its breath, you are dinner. If you recognize a lion by its roar, you have time to run away. And this is about developing subtlety in the nervous system, acuity in your sensory system. And because of all the intaking of digital media, of all the crappy foods, of alcohol, porn, all these things that literally rewire and hijack the dopamine system in the brain, we become desensitized to the environment. And it often takes things being like right up in our face for us to recognize that there's a threat. And again, by the time that that threat is right here, you're done. So as a warrior, it's about honing this lover energy. And I think there's a misnomer that, oh, the lover is weak. And it's like, no, as a man, is absolutely essential to be connected to your lover energy. And there are assaults and attacks in the culture, in the media, in marketing on men developing this lover energy. We are inundated and flooded with sex as being the equivalent of lover energy. And now with things like OnlyFans and just the plethora of access to pornography, we are just being inundated all the time. Advertisements showing women just hijacking again that dopamine system, and we're just like searching for the next thing. It's totally cutting off that authentic feeling, that part of us that actually deeply needs to feel. Because when men actually feel and really get what's going on, then they can take right action. And again, you can call it a conspiracy, you can call it an agenda, whatever you want. But to keep men docile, to keep men down is part of the program. And it's really meant to keep you sick and not taking action and to be comfortable and just to allow everything that's going on in the world to continue. So as a man, as a man in his personal life, it's absolutely important to develop this lover energy. And the lover energy in what I call and ignite the sacred third is all about joy. It's about aliveness. It's about empathy. It's about presence. One of the biggest things I hear as feedback from women, both from the men I take care of, from my wife's group, is that men aren't present. They're checked out. And that's the other end of the shadow of the lover energy, is being numb, ambivalent, meh, energy neutral, just being checked out. But often men will go to the positive pole of the shadow lover and be addicted to pleasure. have no boundaries around anything, stuck in the vices, drugs, alcohol, weed, social media, porn, or even achievements, and chasing the carrot and always looking for the next thing. So we need to bring this lover energy in check, and we need to bring this lover energy into the sacred third. And that does require like a clearing out of the system. It requires actually focusing on your life force. And there's lots of different rituals and morning practices and activities that you can do. You got to move the energy. Working out is great. Martial arts is great. Yoga is great. Meditation is great. Journaling is great. Doing things like ice baths, sauna, contrast therapy, all the different sort of biohacking things that are out there. What's the purpose of them? There's longevity, but if you're living a shitty life and then you're just living a longer shitty life, does that make things better? Those biohacks are there to stimulate your life force energy. Grounding, walking on the earth, eating high quality foods, animal based foods, foods that are dense with nutrients. These are all things that support life force energy. And being able to not only boost our life force, but also boost our emotional intelligence. Again, our emotions, our emotional intelligence is designed to keep us alive. It is designed to pick up on the subtle cues of the environment so we could radically shift our physiology to prepare for whatever is coming at us. But if we're disconnected from our emotions, we can't pick up on those subtle cues. Now, women have this in spades, specifically in their brain, in the middle part of the brain, the corpus callosum. They have all these interconnections, way more than men have. So they're able to process things differently, put things together. They're able to pick up on the subtle cues. This is wired into the DNA. This isn't inherent in men as much as it is in women. So it's something that we need to grow and develop and work on. Now, with that lover energy, we also need to develop the warrior, the get shit done energy that we have, this archetype of the warrior, this archetype of being a badass. And the warrior gets a bad rap in the culture because men are seen as toxic, men are seen as aggressive, men are often seen as they're angry and they destroy things. And there's been this push in the culture for a while now to make men docile, to make it look bad when men express this kind of energy. And the problem is that when men do, they often destroy things, destroy relationships, break things, get in trouble, get arrested, kill, and often for the wrong reasons. So as Jordan Peterson said, again, you must be a monster and then learn how to control it. You must develop that aggressive part of yourself and then learn how to direct the energy, learn how to pick up the subtle cues. But absolutely, you must forge yourself in the fire of the warrior. Be tried, be true, be tested, grow, be met with those challenges. Men grow in the face of challenge, hands down. That's how it works. Women grow with compliments, men grow with challenge. I mean, women get challenged too. I don't want to create a polarity here, but at a core, and I'm not talking about men and women, I'm talking about the masculine energy. The masculine energy grows with challenge. It grows when things are getting pushed up against it, when a man is being pushed up against the ropes, when he's being pushed up against life, and he doesn't back down to that. That doesn't mean you don't fall down. And men will often see falling down as a failure and will give up. It's about getting back up. No matter how many times you fall down, it's about getting back up. And we have an epidemic going on in this culture where men give up. And the ultimate give up is when men choose to take their own life, when they unalive themselves. And we are in June right now. This is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. 22 veterans a day killing themselves. I think in 2025, worldwide, we've had, I don't know if it's worldwide in the US, but already 350,000 suicides, most of those being men, because men don't share. Men often hold things in. Men often suppress the emotion, and they'll either implode or they will explode. And either way, things are getting destroyed. So you must be a monster and then learn how to control it. Peterson also talks about the shadow and the shadow self and the Jungian aspects of how we've disassociated with those internal parts, those unheard parts of ourselves. And as a man, you are responsible for dealing with that. It is not your responsibility for what happened to you as a child and your conditioning and those core wounds. But as a man, as an adult, you are 100% responsible for dealing with it and addressing it. And if you tell me that you don't have these shadows, you don't have these challenges, you don't have these wounds, you're lying to me and you're lying to yourself. All men have experienced conditioning. Even if your environment, even if your upbringing was positive, there's always things that happen that conditioned you to be a certain way. A man in our group said it the other day, I thought was really great. There's trauma with a big T, and then there's trauma with a little t. And the big traumas, of course, abuse, parents dying, parents leaving, parents divorcing, being abused physically, sexually, mentally, emotionally. There's all kinds of things that can go on that are significant and severe. And there's also little traumas, and those often will build up over a long period of time, where any one of them individually may not seem like a big deal, but cumulatively they are. And a lot of men face things like abandonment, not being nurtured, not being loved, not being seen, not being heard. And this will develop in the nervous system. This will develop all the ways in which we deal with stress, what ways we deal with emotion, how we show up, or really how we don't show up in relationships moving forward. So I encourage you men out there listening to this to start to develop this lover energy, start to develop your warrior energy, start getting connected into your life force, the energy that keeps you alive, your vitality. And I will tell you, as a man in his mid 40s, as you start to hit that curve, the vitality levels go down, the testosterone levels go down, your metabolism goes down, your muscle mass goes down. You have to actively engage with that. You have to actively grow that. And it's the same with your emotional intelligence. You have to actively work that muscle. You have to actively engage with your emotion. And typically, the only emotions men were allowed to feel was anger and frustration. But underneath that, there's other emotions. Typically, when I work with a man, there's sadness, there's grief, really just a lot of unprocessed emotion that exists inside the system that truthfully just hasn't been dealt with. And the thing is, when those emotions get liberated, there is extreme amount of power and focus and wisdom that comes from accessing those emotions appropriately. And that's the key word here, is appropriately. Most men don't know how to access those emotions in the proper way. They don't have never been shown that. They've never been modeled that. It's been always held in. And then usually we have to do something like alcohol or drugs or some kind of extreme experience in order to activate emotion, in order to feel. So we need to model for our children and the next generation that as a man, it's absolutely imperative to have emotional intelligence, to have an emotional IQ. For men that are out there that are in sales and in business, it's like you absolutely need to have an emotional intelligence. You need to pick up on the subtle cues of the deal. You have to know where the deal is going. You have to be able to read the other person. You have to feel in your own body how you're reacting to the environment. When you're walking down the street, you have to know if that person walking down on the other side of the street is a threat or not. And that's having access to your physiology and your emotional system and having it be sensitized to what's going on in the environment. Often men in their relationship, their wife will be, a girlfriend will be upset. They're like, oh, I didn't know anything was wrong. It's like, yeah, because you didn't pick up on any of the subtle cues. And the feminine will not give you that feedback directly. The feminine will give you tangential information. She will be subtle about it. She's not going to tell you head on. That is the feminine way. Men want women to be direct until they're direct, and then they wish they weren't. But as a man, it's important to develop this subtlety, this nuance. It's actually a superpower. It's not a weakness. And I think that is what we need to shift in the culture, where men have viewed emotion as a weakness when it's actually a superpower. I'm going to say that again. Men have been conditioned to believe that emotion is a weakness when in fact it's a superpower. And when that emotion is combined with the essence of the warrior energy, watch out, because that's going to be powerful beyond measure. You're going to be someone to engage with. You're going to be someone that is just ready to take on whatever it is that's in front of us, to have the ability to respond versus react. And that's one of the key things with emotion and emotional standards is be a man that responds and does not react, because often reaction is rooted in fear. Often reaction is rooted in not good enough or not getting our way. So it's our shadow energy that's trying to come out, where we're trying to control the environment, and we feel out of control when we're having to feel things that we don't feel comfortable with. Newsflash, emotions aren't comfortable. They're not meant to be comfortable. Emotion, energy, and motion is meant to radically shift your physiology and ready your body for action. That's why when we go into a fight or flight, all the blood that's inside of our cavity here goes out to the skeletal muscles, to our arms, to our legs, where we're ready to fight or we're ready to flight. And it's very powerful. But we need to learn how to harness and direct that energy in a purposeful and intentional way and not destroy things that we love. And often we will destroy the things and the people that we love the most. It can take 30 years to build a reputation. It could take 5 minutes to ruin it forever. And so many men have fallen by following that pattern. So to recap here, you must be a monster and you must learn how to control it. You must be a monster and then learn how to control it. So those who are in your stead, those that you are responsible for, feel safe, feel nurtured, feel protected. That brings order to your kingdom. That brings order to your life. Frankly, that brings order to the world. So we must develop these archetypes, develop these energies in a healthy, positive way for yourself, for those around you, for your children, and for the future generations, where we show those future generations what it really means to be a man in the modern day and how to take active control of ourselves and our environment so we can make humanity better. I hope this lands for a lot of you out there. We're going to be doing a series of looking at how this shows up with the other archetypes and different quotes from different thought leaders out there and putting it through the lens of Ignite. Hope this was helpful, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a beautiful day, I hope.